Hello, I'm Beverly Thompson. Welcome to City Life, dedicated to keeping you informed on Durham's important news and events. Well, it's a fact. We expect our streets to be smooth, sidewalks to be where we need them, and stormwater systems to drain properly. But when our streets are bumpy, our sidewalks lead to nowhere, and our storm pipes don't drain, we want to know who we need to call. Well, that would be the city's Public Works Department, which now has a new leader. His name is Marvin Williams, and he's here to talk to us about several important projects that you should know about. Welcome, Marvin, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And welcome to Durham.
Thank you.
I know you're new to this area.
Yes.
So because of that, let's just get started with a little bit of background information about you and why you wanted to come to work for Durham.
Well, Durham was a great opportunity for me. I've worked in public works departments in Florida, Virginia, and in California. And Durham presented a great challenge for me. Stable local government, strong engineering department, and the opportunity for me to grow my career in a new direction.
So what do you think of Durham?
I think Durham's a great place. It's culturally diverse, great schools, a lot of good people in the area.
Good things to say when you're new to Durham.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Marvin, for many of our viewers, one of the most visible issues is the state of Durham city streets. In fact, prior to your arrival, we had 3 bond referenda to get voter approval to repave hundreds of miles of streets in Durham that have fallen into disrepair. And we're coming to the end of this year's paving season. Can you give us an update very quickly about what we've already accomplished?
Well, the pavement condition study in 2007 indicated that 40% of city-owned streets were in poor or very poor condition. 2 earlier bond referenda provided $4 million and $15 million to address resurfacing. From March 2006 through June 2009, 4 major contracts were approved by council, which provided for roughly 220 miles of resurfacing. That effort addressed about half the streets that were identified as poor, very poor condition in the city. In 2010, the referendum approved $20 million in resurfacing funds to address the remaining streets identified as poor, very poor in 2007, plus those streets that may have deteriorated between 2007 and 2010.
So you think we've made pretty good progress then?
I think we've made significant progress.
Well, I know you've actually worked in several other communities in the United States. When you first arrived, what was your initial assessment of Durham streets? How did they compare?
I think Durham streets were in pretty good condition overall. They're still at a stage where they're savable. Just with some maintenance and dedicated funding from the city council, I think we can improve the streets and continue to maintain them in a safe condition.
Okay, all right. Well, now that we're coming to the end of this year's paving season, what's in store for 2012?
Well, 2012, we're planning to continue our paving efforts. Generally, the paving season runs from April to November, depending on the weather and when the materials plants are open. But we're anticipating another 130 to 180 lane miles to be paved in 2012.
Okay. I know the city council and the manager have committed to funding street repaving on an annual basis so that the city street doesn't fall into such disrepair again. Do you think we'll be caught up at the end of the 2012 paving season?
By the end of the 2012 paving season, we'll have repaired all of the streets that are identified in the 2007 survey as being poor, very poor. Going forward, we will need the city to dedicate at least $4.5 million up to $6 million annually to continue to maintain those streets in a fair or better state.
Do you think that's going to be possible?
I think it will be possible as long as the city council is dedicated to keeping the streets in good condition as we're trying to get to right now.
Okay. I know the Public Works has a website that's established to keep its residents informed and up to speed on the street repaving progress. What's that website address and what will visitors find on that?
The Operation Greenlight webpage provides information on the progress of the repaving program. There are maps of the work that has occurred as well as future work that's scheduled. The information is also available in a spreadsheet format. There's additional information on the frequently asked questions on repaving and a message from the city managers explaining the city's commitment to making the streets of Durham better.
I think that's something that a lot of viewers appreciate, that overall commitment that we've made over the past couple of years to improving Durham streets, and it's a big difference. I've noticed personally, just riding myself, that they're smooth and makes a big difference in the ride in Durham, and I'm sure with visitors as well, because visitors, when they come to Durham, that's the first thing they hit the streets, and Yeah, makes a big difference. So let's switch gears then. I know your department's been hard at work in building sidewalks this summer as well. What will our viewers see in terms of new and better sidewalks?
Well, the city right now has 5 locations under construction as part of our sidewalk contract. They're Wilderness Road, Hunt Street, Club Boulevard, Markham Avenue, and Westlake Avenue. The contract was approximately $500,000, and we expect these sidewalks to be completed by spring of 2012.
Okay, all right. Well, in addition to street paving and sidewalks, I know we are also tasked with some other major street improvement projects. And one of them is the streetscape design for Angier and Driver Streets intersection. Tell our viewers a little bit about this project and where we are now on it.
Well, the City of Durham's Office of Economic and Workforce Development and the Public Works Department partnered with EG&G Incorporated, a landscape architecture, planning, and engineering firm, to implement this project. Economic revitalization and an improved quality of life for both residents and visitors are the basis for the project. Bid opening is set for early September, with construction beginning in early 2012. The project will include decorative, historic style street lighting, concrete sidewalks with decorative brick paving and bulb outs, concrete crosswalks with provisions for decorative patterns, handicap accessible ramps per the American with Disabilities Act standards, concrete curbs and gutters and driveway aprons, catch basins, drainage inlets, consolidation of overhead utility wires and new high poles located on one side of the street, street milling, resurfacing, and landscaping throughout the area.
Wow, that's pretty significant. Sounds like that's going to make a big difference in that community. I don't know if you've had a chance to ride over there and see it, but I think this is really going to improve that community a lot if we actually move forward on it. So I know another project that you're working on is the City Hall Plaza Street Improvement project. Tell us a little bit about where we are on that project now.
Well, City Hall has been closed to vehicle traffic while the road is transformed into a new streetscape reminiscent of the downtown revitalization project. The project is to provide an ADA-compliant route from the parking deck to the front entrance of City Hall. And the design includes new curb and gutter, new water quality devices, sidewalks with brick pavers, street lights, and landscaping at the corner of City Hall Plaza and Mangum Street. The design also includes a drop-off area that will separate traffic on City Hall Plaza and provide a safe area for disabled residents to enter City Hall. It'll also include a new route from Chapel Hill Street parking lot to the entrance of City Hall, which will also provide improved accessibility to City Hall.
That's going to make a big difference. I know I have to go through there every day, and the work's been going on, and it looks, well, it definitely is under construction, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to the completion of that. But I know there's another project also that you're talking about, and it is a major interest to a lot of viewers in Durham, and that's the American Tobacco Trail Bridge. Can you give us an update on where we are with that project right now?
Well, the Durham City Council remains committed to completing the American Tobacco Trail and Bridge, despite the fact that bids came in more than $2 million higher than what we anticipated. The project is a priority because of its strategic location as a major and heavily used north-south route for pedestrians and bicyclists. The construction of the new section would also carry the trail to the commercial sector south of U.S. Interstate 40 and to several neighborhoods in southern Durham. Just recently, the North Carolina DOT determined that the city would have to rebid this project to try and improve the costs that we received from the contractors that submitted bids. Likely, the city will choose to break the projects into 2 segments, one exclusively for the bridge construction and a separate one for the trail construction. Rebidding will give the city opportunities to look for ways at cost savings measures, incorporating some bid alternates that hadn't been considered before, and also looking at an alternative to the steel requirement that the DOT placed in the initial bid documents for this project.
So all in all, you think this is a good thing that we're having to redo this?
It's definitely a good thing. It should save the city quite a bit of money if we change the way that we bid this project.
Okay, well, Marvin, this has been very informative, and I want you to stay with me for the second half of the show, because we have some other questions about other parts of your duties that you do every day that I think a lot of people would be interested in. We're going to take a quick break now, but coming up in the next segment, we'll talk about what you should know about stormwater runoff and just whose responsibility it is. We'll be right back.
If stormwater pollution was rubber duckies, it wouldn't matter what went down our storm drains. But it does, because stormwater pollution is not rubber duckies. It's trash, oil, cigarette butts, and pet waste flowing untreated to the sea. That's not good for any of us, because we all live downstream.
Brought to you by Clean Water Education Partnership, protecting water for North Carolina's people.
Mom!
What?
You can't find Ichabod.
What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Get on board the Bull City Connector, a fare-free route connecting Durham from the innovation of Duke to the history of downtown to the creativity of Golden Belt. The Bull City Connector is fare-free, frequent, and fun, connecting visitors, business travelers, students, and downtown workers to key destinations in and around Durham. So get on board the Bull City Connector Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to midnight, plus Saturdays and holidays. For more information, call 485-RIDE or visit bullcityconnector.org.
Welcome back to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson, your host. Every time it rains, we count on our stormwater drainage system to quickly and safely dispose of stormwater runoff. But did you know that there's a lot more to it than simply moving rainwater, and that you, as a property owner, play a big role in keeping this system up and running? Joining me again to talk about stormwater services and the huge task assigned to it is new Public Works Director Marvin Williams. Welcome back, Marvin.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here with me. Marvin, can you tell our viewers briefly about why they should even care about stormwater runoff?
Well, runoff is exactly what the name says. It's water that runs off of land after a rain event. It comes from impervious areas like roads, roofs, driveways, and sometimes in heavy rain events, it'll also come from your yards, parks, different areas like that. Eventually, all of this water runs into our rivers, lakes, streams, and it becomes our drinking water through our water management department. Stormwater runoff is powerful and can cause quite a few problems on roadways and on personal properties. It can also carry many pollutants to the creeks and water bodies that we have around the city. These pollutants can cause problems for our fish, our drinking water, and just different things that affect our daily life.
Now you speak of pollutant. What are some of the common pollutants that end up in the stormwater, and how are they harmful?
Well, pet waste, fertilizer, weed killers, engine oil, paint, cleaners. There's a variety of things that you have around your house that can end up in the waterway within the city. And because it does impact our drinking water, eventually you may be drinking some of these pollutants that you discharge into the stormwater system. It also affects our swimming and fishing in some of the local lakes and rivers around the city. So it affects our daily lives, and it affects a lot of the living things. It can impact your fishing if you're a fisherman, and just different activities that you do outdoors on a daily basis. Well, the Clean Water Act requires the city to maintain a stormwater system that actually keep all of the waterways in safe and working order.
I know these are some of the things that we just don't even normally think about, but it's good that you're drawing these to our attention. So if someone sees these types of pollutants or a pollution occurring, what should they do?
Well, if someone wants to report a water quality concern, they should contact the city at 560-SWIM. That's 560-7946, or they can email it to stormwaterquality@durhamnc.gov. Now, if a resident sees an overflowing sewer manhole, they should contact our water management department at 560-4344. That number is manned 24 hours a day, so you will get a response immediately for that issue. It also, if residents see oil spills, people dumping wash water into stormwater inlets, or anything else that can be a pollutant, they should contact the Public Works Department at the 560-SWIM number.
So we take this pretty seriously, huh?
Yes, we do.
Now, we've been discussing some of the pollutants that end up in the stormwater and how it adversely affects our water quality. So how does Stormwater Services actually monitor water quality, and what do you do with this data?
Well, we regularly monitor streams, lakes for bacteria, algae, water chemistry, stream flow, and insects that live in the streams. There's a lot of living creatures in all of our streams and rivers, dragonflies, clams, and fish. There's a variety of things. So we monitor continuously to make sure that all of these things are in balance.
Okay. Well, I know you have several projects going on, and you try to, well, all of these projects work together to help control stormwater runoff, as well as several watershed restoration projects. Why are these projects really needed, and can you give us some examples of those projects that are currently underway?
Well, right now we have watershed improvement plans that are in the works to help the city identify the sources of pollutants and where they're actually coming from. There's several around the city, and we want to see which have the potential greatest impact to the quality of life and the quality of our drinking water. All of these creeks have been designated as impaired waters by the state of North Carolina, and the plans that we've developed will help us develop plans of action on how to correct some of these issues with pollutants. In addition, we're trying to address the new rules that are being implemented for the Jordan and Falls Lake areas to reduce the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus that enter these lakes. In the watershed plan, stormwater control measures such as constructing wetland areas to treat existing stormwater issues, restoring streams, and preserving existing natural areas are a priority to have the maximum positive impact that we can for these locations.
Okay, I know in addition to all of these efforts to monitor and impact stormwater runoff, your department is also tasked with managing the stormwater drainage system. Tell our viewers a little bit about the city system.
Well, many people think that street basins and pipes are only part of the system, but there's a lot more to it. We have a lot of natural areas that we try to use as part of our stormwater system, such as wetland areas and some of the newer developments, along with the pipes, the existing basins, wet retention ponds, dry retention ponds. So there's a variety of things that we use. And we have a pretty massive system within the city. We have approximately 750 miles of stormwater pipe, which is essentially the distance from Durham to St. Louis, Missouri.
That's a lot.
We also have roughly 260 miles of open channels or ditches, which is roughly the same distance from Durham to Washington, D.C. And we also have approximately 1,200 miles of streams and river, which would be the distance from Durham to Dallas, Texas. So it's quite a large system. We also have 42,000 stormwater inlets, 9,000 stormwater outlets, which is about one outlet for every 25 residents within the city. And there's also over 500 stormwater control measures that we have throughout Durham. So there's a lot that we have in place that we're responsible to maintain, and we're trying to get people to understand that the system is larger than what they really think it is, and it provides a lot of good service and good use for the city in general.
And I guess one thing we need to bring up too is an aging system.
Yes, it is. It's an aging system that is starting to show its age. With some of the recent events that have happened, the system usually can last roughly 50 to 75 years, in some cases 100 years. But now that some of that infrastructure has reached this good, useful life, we're starting to see the effects with broken pipes, sinkholes, different things like that that have occurred.
Marvin, talk to us a little bit about publicly owned versus pipes that are on private property.
Well, right now the Durham City Code of Ordinances establishes a defined line between what is going to be maintained by the city and what private property owners are responsible for. The city is primarily responsible for the drainage systems that are located within the city right-of-way, and private property owners are responsible for any of the inlets or culverts, pipes, ditches that are on their property. Now, we do try to work with homeowners. We'll provide them with some investigation services and assistance with any issues that may come about on their privately owned system. But our main focus and attention is on the city right-of-way.
So to break it down then, if a drainage or stoppage occurs on private property, who's responsible for it?
Well, the private property owner is responsible for it. They're responsible for not only maintaining their system, but performing any repairs that are needed to their system. So if they have a separated pipe in their yard, they should hire a contractor to come in and assist them with it. Or if they have an overgrown ditch in their yard, they're responsible for hiring a contractor or performing the work themselves of cleaning that ditch out to establish water flow.
And again, if they wonder if any publicly owned storm drainage is on their property, how can they find out?
Well, there's two ways. They can contact us directly within our Stormwater Services Department, or they can actually go on to the city's website, durhamnc.gov, and go to the Public Works homepage and then go to Stormwater Services, where we actually have a mapping feature available for them that will show them what city-owned stormwater infrastructure and what's actually on their private property and they're responsible for maintaining.
And I guess that's pretty important to know if you own property, but also if you're planning on buying property.
That's correct. That's correct. You should really know that because it will make a difference in your decision as to whether or not you want to purchase a piece of property if there's a intricate stormwater system within that property that you're going to be responsible for maintaining for the long term.
Okay, all right, important information. Now, if a property owner is already experiencing any drainage or flooding problems, what should they do, and can they contact your staff for help?
Sure. First and foremost, if there's a flooding situation and it's an emergency, people should call 911. And after they call 911, after they're in a safe location, they should contact the Durham One Call Center. We can provide them with information as far as what may be causing the flooding, if it's a stormwater system that's backing up into their property, or we can help identify if it's a city-owned system that's causing the flooding. People should also know that they can purchase a federally subsidized flood insurance policy through the National Flood Insurance Program, and they should recognize that there is a 30-day waiting period for those policies once they do purchase them, but it is something good to have in hand if you feel that you're in a chance of experiencing flooding at any time on your property.
And I know another thing that we've talked about is the fact that the city has actually set up a fund to help property owners whose houses or businesses are in imminent danger due to collapsed stormwater lines or drainage lines on their property. Tell us a little bit about how this program actually works.
Well, there's actually two sections in the ordinance that address this, section 7685 and 7686, which specifically speaks to the assistance that the city will provide to private property owners. In one section, we'll specifically assist residential property owners up to $20,000 with their stormwater issues. And for all other property owners, specifically commercial property owners, we'll assist them with up to $35,000 to address their stormwater issues or flooding issues. Currently, the stormwater fees that the city collects are not enough to address all of the issues, not only within the right-of-way, but also in private property. Right now, the funds that we do take in through the stormwater utility fee only covers approximately 40% of the stormwater infrastructure that we have. So there's still quite a bit more room for the utility to grow so that we can actually perform some of the proper maintenance and some of the capital improvement projects that are needed to address our stormwater infrastructure.
Important information. Now, if our viewers want information about public works in general and the projects that you have underway, how do they find out?
Well, they can go to durhamnc.gov or they can contact Public Works directly at 560-4326 to speak with one of our staff members. And if they do choose to go into the web page, there's a lot of good information there. There's also a lot of information that we try to put out in the monthly utility bills for residents.
Okay, all right. Well, since you're new, any final thoughts? You want a crystal ball and tell us where you expect your department to be in, say, a year from now?
A year from now, I expect us to have a lot more stormwater maintenance functions in place. We're going to continue with our resurfacing efforts, and we're just going to try to make Durham a better, more livable place for every resident and property owner in the city.
Okay, all right. Well, Marvin, thanks so much for being with me. And I know you're a busy man, having just started a few weeks ago, and got a lot of things going on. But welcome to Durham. We're happy to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
All right. Well, that does it for this edition of City Life. If you have a comment or a future show idea, email us at publicaffairs@durhamnc.gov or call us at 560-4123. You can also visit DTV8 on Facebook and Twitter to find out more about this show, City Hall This Week, and all of the city's programming. You can also find us on demand on the city's website at durhamnc.gov/DTV8. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me to learn more about city life in Durham.
Hi there, pal. I bet you love a nice rain shower as much as the next guy, especially when you're out walking in your neighborhood, don't you? But did you know that the rain falling in your neighborhood contributes to the amount of stormwater runoff in your area? If not properly managed, that stormwater runoff can cause all kinds of problems. Confused about what stormwater is and why you should care about it? Well, let's step back and take a closer look at the water cycle. The water cycle is the continuous movement of water on Earth. Water evaporates, forms clouds, and falls back to Earth as precipitation. After precipitation falls, it soaks into the ground or becomes surface runoff that fills rivers and lakes. This cycle repeats over and over. It never ends. Water soaking into the ground is very important because it slowly recharges groundwater, creeks, and streams. It gets filtered by natural processes, providing a cleaner, healthier water source. As neighborhoods like yours grow, they create hard surfaces, such as rooftops, streets, and sidewalks, that don't allow water to soak into the ground. The stormwater that flows across these surfaces becomes runoff that can disrupt the normal water cycle and cause serious problems. As more hard surfaces are added to your neighborhood, the water can't soak into the ground. As a result, it moves too quickly to creeks and streams and hits them in a rush. This makes erosion and flooding worse. In addition, when stormwater runoff flows across yards, roads, and parking lots, it picks up pollutants like motor oil, fertilizers, yard wastes, litter, and pet wastes. These are carried by storm drains and pipes straight into creeks and streams. Not only is this water not cleaned at a treatment plant first, it doesn't even get naturally filtered by the soil before it flows into the rivers and lakes that supply our drinking water. So you see, stormwater runoff in cities like ours can be a real handful. If only there was someone around to manage such a big problem. Well, there is. The City of Durham Stormwater Services, working together with residents like you, helps protect our water. You see, we all contribute to the growth of hard surfaces that are created in our city. And in doing so, we all play a role in the problems caused by stormwater runoff. So to do our part, each of us pays our stormwater utility fee based on the amount of hard surface area we have on our property. Stormwater Services uses this stormwater utility fee to fund many activities that you probably never even knew about. For instance, the Stormwater Services team is responsible for testing the water in streams and creeks in your neighborhood to monitor their health. They also inspect hundreds of stormwater outlets to check for pollution sources. The stormwater utility fee funds maintenance of the hundreds of miles of pipes that make up the public drainage system to prevent spills and backups. When problems are found, the people of Stormwater Services manage the repair of the public drainage system so that it can safely carry stormwater runoff to our streams and creeks without overwhelming them. This greatly reduces erosion and flooding issues. When there is a sewer backup, often caused by grease poured down drains, stormwater staff are on the scene to help clean things up, reducing the impact of a growing population on our waterways. Stormwater Services finds solutions for cleaning stormwater in areas of the city that are already built up with homes and businesses. For example, street sweeping removes litter and other pollutants before it reaches streams. Rain gardens can be installed to capture and filter stormwater to prevent pollution. Stream restorations repair damaged banks and add back native plants. And finally, Stormwater Services teaches people like you how to make small changes that make big differences in protecting our water, like picking up after your dog, using less fertilizer, letting native plants and trees grow up near streams and creeks instead of mowing all the way to the edge, and properly disposing of toxic products like paint, motor oil, and weed and bug killer at the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Center. So, just remember, the next time you enjoy a nice rain shower, the City of Durham is working with individuals like you to make a difference for clean water. For more information, please visit our website or call us at 919-560-4326.